The topic of gullibility. The chief existence of television is primarily entertainment, and it affects women and men into thinking what is on TV is real life. They think to be accepted into society, they need to adapt or adopt the dresses and actions or portrayals of their sex on TV, when it is really just entertainment that is not supposed to be realistic. All the people that take TV programs such as The Brady Bunch, Ally McBeal, Jeannie, and I Love Lucy as reality should blame themselves for being so gullible. To call certain shows sexist or abusive for their own socially acceptable thoughts, and the people that take it as real life and as though adapt to the lifestyle of certain programs are also making a big mistake. They are adopting to scripts, not real people. The portraying of an actor is not their real personality, and therefore they are portraying a script person that might be an unacceptable character for a proper society. But unfortunately most people do this, as they have forgotten that it is primarily the function of TV shows is entertainment and nothing more. Therefore, I believe people should watch more documentaries like The World Around Us and Foreign Correspondent rather than soaps and programs like Neighbours, because they have nothing to do with real life in the real world. Unless you portray yourself as one of those characterizations, which is really just a script, not a real person. This thing changes society, as most people are gullible enough to act them over. It's not always bad, but because of the above, people's attitude in the 70s was that men were losers and generally love saps, that women walked over, and in the 1980s was called the Europe Bridge, as that was how they were portrayed on TV, and therefore causing a female revolt as though they had been influenced to have a bad attitude. Body image is a problem. It's also emphasized on TV. All actors have bodies like Amanda Woodward or Ally McBeal, top models. They make men and women inflict self-abuse on themselves to look socially acceptable, i.e. induced vomiting or dieting and surgery, to make them look like the model perception on TV, and are really doing unthinkable things, bad for their body and mind. The self-esteem in a person can be altered when they see a beauty ads on TV, or an all-model league of actors to a certain standard. This changes your self-esteem as they are portrayed as perfect lives and bodies, and when you don't fit their perception or standard, it can make you feel inadequate or depressed. An example is that in the past, people who were weighty were seen as beautiful, and that was later became skinny, were seen as beautiful, and medium size, then athletic, different types. But this is also changes the self-perception. It affects how people tend to foolishly portray themselves on TV characters. Your point of view changes as what is on TV is perceived as right and acceptable in society. You have to look and think like them. Evidently, the people themselves are to blame who have forgotten TV is entertainment and should not be portrayed as real lives such as soaps, Bold and the Beautiful, based on scripts but not on social norm. The majority of society changes when these shows are acted, but unfortunately do not really think it is right or wrong. In conclusion, programs can affect the way people live their daily lives. I find it very concerning as to a large amount of rubbish people take in as real life. This can change their personal attitude, behavior, body image, self-esteem, personal points of view for different subjects, and their self-perception. But all to their own. Everyone likes whatever they like. Man in the Mirror. Change explaining change through lyrics. A metaphorical implication of events is used by a summer's disregard, broken bottle top, one man's soul, follow each other on the wind, because they got nowhere to go. This evokes the visual scene of a flight leading to a death and then an attack on society. It implies that conflict leading to either genocide or murder comes from people turning a blind eye to injustice. This disregard or disrespect is explained by the other as being from people simply going along with the views and culture of society, which is governed by the powerful within it, who practice turning a blind eye on injustice. They then go along without thinking for themselves, and this is the reason why they become trapped within a system of oppression of the justice which is governed by protecting injustices and exploitation. Those who stop change by rejecting it at all costs are those gaining from the injustice, and they in turn govern the society of injustice. Turning points in the development and change of Nelson Mandela's political views and eventual struggle. Nelson Mandela's father died when he was 9. Nelson moved in with his guardian, who was chief and regent of the royal family. As regent, he presided over the Thembu Court of Justice. Nelson would watch and listen to court cases, which influenced him greatly and resulted in him being determined to become a lawyer. The major influences of his political development in early childhood include listening to Thembu elders speaking of the many wars their ancestors had waged in the effort of defending their lands. These stories influenced Nelson to begin considering the freedom struggle of his people. While attending Harrelton School in class was addressed by the famous ex-Xhosa poet Kroon Mikwai, who made the powerful prediction that one day black Africans would rule themselves. Nelson took these dramatic words as a real possibility. When Nelson was enrolled at the University College of Fort Hare, he was constantly debating and considering the African struggle, and many of his fellow students hoped the black majority would one day come to rule the country. Years later, after Nelson had finished his law degree, he was able to become a member of the National African Congress, ANC, a small organization of African intellectuals. After a short while, he started taking part in many debates, mainly based on racial equality issues. He soon became well known in the group for his intelligence and dedication. One person in the group Nelson paid particular attention to. He was a young lawyer named Anthony Lembe. He argued that the ANC was approaching their cause for black independence the wrong way. Instead of making polite petitions to unfair rule of white government, he wanted the ANC to be more assertive, even aggressive, by representing not only a core of well-educated people in the city, but also a vast majority of South Africans affected by unfair laws. Soon Nelson and his friend Oliver Tambo, with other members of the group, set about starting a youth branch of the ANC. This came to be, by their belief, sprouted by Lembe's complaints that the ANC needed to change and become more grassroots orientated if they wanted to appeal to the majority of South Africans living in poverty. All the while, the organization was firmly orientated to this group's goal of changing the political system from within it. While rejecting violence or any radical concepts, they realized this by sticking to their Congress constitution, stating its complete aim, and try to realize them with polite dignity alone. A clash of ideas arose from within the organization, when in 1948 a white-only election resulted in the Nationalist Party government introducing harsh new laws, known as apartheid. The previous unofficial restrictions were bad enough for the non-white majority. This made it worse, and the younger members drew up a program of defiance. These action strategies involved the planning of boycotts, strikes, and civil disobedience, used as weapons of protest. Conflicting ideas of strategy resulted in conservative Dr. Exum being replaced by Dr. G.S. Moraka, an ANC president. During this time, Nelson was elected to the National Executive Committee (NEC) of ANC. The South African government arrested Nelson and other prominent leaders under the Suppression of Communism Act, resulting in a 2-year suspended sentence. While Nelson was not allowed to attend gatherings or leave Johannesburg, he and Oliver Tambo opened a legal office and helped their clients struggle against apartheid laws. When the sentence was over, Nelson was elected to the position of first deputy president of the ANC. He took his role seriously, campaigning for better education and living conditions for all South Africans, while continuing legal work. In 1957, Nelson was charged with treason along with other prominent ANC members. The government argued that the ANC leadership was preparing to overthrow it with violence and create a communist regime. During the long trial, Africa underwent many major changes, such as the UK and France granting independence to former colonies, while the South African government was putting in practice the Banthusian policy. This consisted of the forced removal of black Africans to approved government homelands. Nelson argued forcefully against the policy, leading to several banning orders. While these events were taking place, several major anti-apartheid protests by black South Africans took place. In March 1960, several thousand protesters assembled in the town of Sharpsville, near Johannesburg. 75 police presented panicked and opened fire upon the unnamed demonstrators. This tragic event left 69 demonstrators dead and resulted in an echo of shock around the world. The government declared a state of emergency and made the ANC an illegal body. The ANC responded by becoming an underground organization. Meanwhile, the treason trial involving Mandela collapsed, and he took part in the secret ANC plans to launch a new branch called Umboko, or Sizwe, or Spirit of the Nation, MK. This would turn out to be armed core of the ANC. Mandela was the elected chief of the organization and sought to form an army. Mandela was technically a free man, but in reality the authority were all over the previous trial members, including him. He had to be extra cautious. Soon enough, a warrant for his arrest was issued, not because he was part of a militant group, but because of the apartheid laws he broke, by travelling around the country without government permission. He became known all over the country by defying the government. He had to stay one step ahead of the police to avoid capture and was dubbed the Black Pimpernel, or the Scarlet Pimpernel, an imaginary novel character of the French Revolution. The seriousness of his devotion to his political struggle of reform can be summed up in a letter he sent to newspapers while on the run. I will not leave South Africa, nor will I surrender. Only through hardship, sacrifice, and militant action can freedom be won. The struggle is my life. I will continue fighting for freedom until the end of my days. As you can see, his ideas evolved from a child debater in favor of democratic government, developing into a dedicated, peaceful legal activist, followed by a change through desperation and immense personal conviction into self-proclaimed militant freedom fighter. Changes in William's outlook in Braveheart. The three scenes. The film Braveheart, directed by Mel Gibson, depicts immense change in the main character, William Wallace. Through use of a wide range of film techniques, the director was able to capture and make these changes visible through use of camera angles, shots, focus, character expression, music, and sound effects, all adding to the scenes. The first scene uses low-angle panning and a full shots to depict Mick Lennox, Campbell, and another rider on horseback approaching William, who was busy fixing his hut roof. It then uses close-up shots of the expressions of those talking as they approach. William looks a little worried and the horsemen appear calm but serious. The background music slowly fades to be replaced by natural sounds. Quote, "Sir, I know it was strange of me to invite Marianne, but I..." End quote. William is interrupted by Campbell, who states, "Mick Lennox, daughter is another matter." William looks relieved, quote, "I've come to fetch you to a meeting," end quote. Campbell declares, quote, "What sort of meeting?" William implies, with a bemused look, "The secret kind." Campbell replies then, McClintock states, "Your meetings are a waste of time." Campbell spits in defiance, then tells William, "Your father was a fighter and a patriot." A medium shot, if William depicts him bowing his head as in thought, and then rising defiantly but calmly. "I know who my father was," he replies. Campbell is depicted as looking content and ready to listen. William then puts his hand on his lips and states, "I come back to raise crops and, God willing, a family." McClintock seems disappointed. Then going back to Wallace, "If I can live in peace, I will." A close-up of Campbell shows his disappointment and indicates for the others to go. As you can see, this scene shows William's mission statement and philosophy on life. He wants to settle down to a peaceful family life and avoid politics of the region and just live. The next scene shows Marion carrying a basket of lettuce and strolling through the village with an eye level, long shot. It then uses an array of close-up shots of Marion and William. This emphasizes them both making eye contact and smiling at each other. They are then drawn together on a medium shot and then goes to a close-up of the English corporal who looks at them sinisterly and drinks from a wine goblet. Then going back to a close-up of Marion and William, who are talking about meeting later playfully. Then going to a close-up of the corporal who shouts, "Look lively, sergeants," in a commandly tone. He then walks up to Marion and offers to help carry the basket. She refuses, pushing away from him. Then going to a full shot of her walking around a hut as he stands in her way. A full shot shows the corporal running to the other side of the building. A medium shot is then used to show the events around the other side. Marion bumps into the corporal, then tries to escape, but runs into two sergeants. The corporal then grabs her basket and throws it away. Marion punches him in the face. He grabs her shoulders and throws her to the ground. A close-up shot shows Marion struggling while the corporal kisses and licks her, then she bites him on her cheek. A low angle then shows the sergeants looking on, then one falls to the ground after being hit by a rock in the head. A long shot depicts William running and screaming and then pushing the other sergeant to the ground. He then grabs the corporal and pulls him off Marion before throwing him. He then holds on to Marion and asks if she was all right. They then make their way cautiously onto the village street. The place is teeming with soldiers. The close-up shows William is nervous while Marion seems relieved. Then a medium shot depicts the corporal who shouts in anger, "Come back here, you bastard!" Straight away, William puts Marion on a horse and tells her to meet up at the grove. He then runs away from approaching soldiers and kicks the one who sounded the alarm. He then hits the corporal in the head with a stone and throws him in a hut, which he hides in. Then the scene goes to Marion riding the horse. She has knocked off the horse from a soldier spear. After this full shot, the camera closes into a close-up of Marion, who seems to be hurt but okay. A full shot then shows the soldier running, dragging her away. A medium shot of William is used to show him emerging from the hut in a corporal English uniform. He then makes his way to the grove. After taking off the uniform and spearing the ground with his stolen sword, he shouts out to Marion twice, but to no avail. Then the film shows a full shot of Marion tied to a pole in the village. The general is then shown in close-up while he gives a speech. "These days of lawlessness is how you repay me leniency? You leave me little choice. An assault on the king's soldiers is an assault on the king himself." A medium shot shows him drawing a dagger. A close-up shot of the corporal who was bitten shows him turning away and then closing his eyes before she is executed. This scene shows how William Wallace, out of desperation to defend Marion, resulted in him fighting the English soldiers to get Marion away safely. He did, however, try to avoid fighting the other soldiers, but at the same time he kicked the corporal who attacked Marion while he was not an imminent threat. It also shows that William was as yet unaware of a capture until the last segment. The third scene uses an array of techniques to create a scene of tension. Quiet music with dark sounding drums. Everything else seems quiet. Then William is depicted on a medium shot slowly riding through the village with a serious, unflinching look upon his face. An extreme long shot shows the British barracks upon the hills as if you were standing next to Wallace and his horse. A close-up of William shows his face is completely composed, motionless, and seemingly fearless. A close-up of the governor shows he is looking at the small figure of Wallace from the barracks. A medium shot shows William slowly raising his hands to show he's unarmed. Then a long distance and medium shot are used showing the many soldiers around him, emphasizing he is outnumbered.
Medium shot of William shows him blinking and then looking up. An extreme long shot taken as if next to William shows the barrack fortifications and 3 soldiers in the foregrounds. A medium shot of William shows him looking with anger upon the barracks. Then it goes to a close-up of the governor, who seems to be smoking. A close-up of William shows him putting his hand slowly behind his head. Then a medium shot of the sergeant shows him ready with his spear for the unexpected. A long shot is used to show the sergeant and soldier walking towards William slowly. A close-up shows William standing, expressed motionless at the soldier, with his hands still on his back of his head. The 2 soldiers are then viewed from a low-angle medium shot viewed from the side, emphasizing their authority. An undershot of the horse showing the soldier grabbing his reins, emphasizing that William is higher up. A low-angle close-up shot shows William is staring straight at the soldier, and a high-angle close-up shows the soldier looking up at him directly. A low-angle shot is used to show how close William and the soldier are. A medium shot shows the wary sergeant holding with his spear for action. A close-up of the horse who is snorting makes it look as in defiance. A close-up of the soldier looking directly at William is used twice in conjunction with a low-angle close-up of William and the top of the soldier helmet visible. Then a close-up of William back shows him pulling a ball and chain, mace-type weapon from his hair, where it was hidden. A medium-level shot shows William looking serious and focused, as well as using strength to thrust the swinging weapon, so it directly hits the soldier. It then goes to a close-up shot of the governor, who looks shocked in the result of this anarchistic battle that the villagers join in to defeat the English soldiers. As you can see, this scene depicts the immense change undergone by William Wallace throughout of the film. The first segment tells of him wishing for a peaceful family life, the event of Marion's death resulting in his will to live diminishing, and his revengeful act of fury starts him on a journey into the politics he sought to stay away from. His love for his country and the memory of Marion fueled him to start an uprising against the tyranny of the English army in Scotland, leading to many unsuccessful battles against the brutal English king, Longshanks, but ends in his own execution caused by betrayal from the Scottish nobility. His memory fueled Robert the Bruce to fight and win Scotland's freedom, and his legend lives on in the Scottish folklore. Man in the Mirror, explaining change through lyrics. The lyrics within the title of Michael Jackson's song, Man in the Mirror. Oh fuck this, my voice is shit. I can't speak today, I'll get fucking weird. Man in the Mirror, explaining change through lyrics. The lyrics within the title of Michael Jackson's song, Man in the Mirror, is a metaphor. This can be interpreted as a man or even mankind looking upon or reflecting upon oneself as a whole. Not only is this the first step to change, it signifies what the whole song is about. The piece starts out by using repetition of a certain slang word, gonna. This tells the listener what change is about, through the context meaning of the actual word. Gonna stands for, or signifies, people promising to do something, after we have been told externally or have thought for ourselves and thought it was necessary or just a good idea. It then uses first-person adjectives such as I and I'm to make the reader aware of the individual's role throughout change, that it can only come about from a personal level to be true and or grassroots level to be real. Repetition is used again through the reuse of make. This word describes an action as being enforced upon oneself or others, which is the essence of change, as being from internal or external factors. Metaphor is used next to interpret change. A change, once in my life. Feel real good. Gonna make it right. This directly implies that change can come about after a long period of time, and that change can be good. Not only on a personal level, but for the greater good of others too. It also implies that we may have to rebel against the forces that govern our lives to make change happen, like naturally occurring instincts to external factors such as aspects of culture, society, or even religion, in which we know as wrong, and making a difference is making it right. A metaphorical implication of events is used next by a summer's disregard, broken bottle top, one man's soul, follow each other on the wind, because they got nowhere to go. This evokes a visual scene of a fight leading to a death and is explained as being a product of society. It implies conflict leading to genocide or murder comes from people turning a blind eye to injustices. This disregard to disrespect is explained as being common in society, from people simply going along with the views and culture of society, which in turn is governed by influence of the powerful within it, who practice turning a blind eye to injustice by rejecting any righteous change that may in effect hinder their gain from it. This makes people feel trapped in an unchangeable system, and so they go with it. Directive tone and metaphor tell the listener that's why I want you to know, starting with man in the mirror, asking him change ways, no message any clearer. If you're going to make world a better place, take a look at yourself, make a change. This metaphorically implies for the listener that if they want a better world, they should look and reflect upon themselves and change something they might be doing that hinders the world from being a better place. Descriptive text producing a metaphorical inclination in being victim, selfish kind of love, time realized there, some with no home. Could it be me, pretending they're not alone? Below deeply scarred, somebody's broken heart, a washed out dream. They follow the pattern of the wind, because they got no place to be. This inclines the listener through description to view the lyrics as being related to a culture, one of self-loathing society. It affects those within it by running individual aspirations, by being influenced into the spiritually or individually degenerative effects of becoming trapped in that cultural system. One that practices turning a blind eye for the individual's gain of the false satisfaction. The segment first uses personal action words, descriptive language and slang through "That's why I'm starting with me, the man in the mirror, asking him to change his ways. You can't close your mind, gonna feel real good now. I'm gonna make a change." The author uses this lyrical piece to subconsciously evoke the individual into making a change. He does this by starting off being perceived as going to change alone, until he uses the phrase "man in the mirror," which really implies to everyone as well as himself. It can also be interpreted as being opposed to the culture of turning a blind eye, and that by seeing you will promise to change, leaving you with personal happiness and fulfillment. The last segment sums up the whole purpose of the lyrics within. It uses directive and personal yet metaphorical text. Just lift yourself. Got to stop it yourself. Got to make that change. Got to get that man in the mirror to move. Come on. Stand up. Lift yourself now. Gonna make change. Come on. You know, change. Make that change. This influences the listener into changing their ways and includes motivation to resist the temptation of not changing by hanging onto the old ways of culture that stop positive change. Keats uses charmed magic casements opening on the foam of perilous seas, in fairylands forlorn, to accurately describe the essence of the illusion he has created by him. His next statement, away. Away, for I will fly to thee, describing this happiness that is of viewing the nightingale in song. Keats then uses imaginative language as key feature of the Romantic movement to sum up his source of inspiration. Not charioted by Bacchus and his bards, meaning the gods of parties and narcotics, but on the viewless wings of poetry, already with thee. Tender is the night, meaning that all his inspiration comes from the essence of viewing the nightingale, another element of romanticism, being the love of nature, in its simplicity and tranquility. All this is used to escaping the reality of himself. Personification is used throughout the poem to represent the use of imagination that be inspired by the nightingale in song, to create the world that is not of reality but of nature. E.g., and happily the queen moon is on her throne, clustered around the big all her starry phase, personifies the moon as queen of the night, it being her kingdom. Fast fading violets covered up in leaves, and mid-May's eldest child, personifies a magical world of nature that is alive, to create the sense of love or unreality of reality. Keats uses a wide array of metaphor, personification, and descriptive as well as reminiscent language to present his ideas, which at times complex themselves in the trend science of beauty. It starts off, my heart aches and drowsy numbness pains, my sense as though my heart hemlock I had drunk, to personify the sense of being too happy in thine happiness, which is describing the narcotic effect the view of beauty the nightingale has transcended upon himself. The poet also uses descriptive metaphoric language to portray his belief in a beauty that comes forth of forgetfulness, i.e., oh, for a draught of vintage, that I might drink and leave the world unseen, fade, far away, dissolve, and quite forget the weariness to fever in the fret, where but to think is to be full of sorrow. The metaphorical description is used to portray an uplifted effect wine may have upon the user. To escape reality, the author Keats was reminiscent, reflective language to escape himself and become, in essence, of the bird and its immoral tranquility inhabited through imagination, i.e., thou wast not born for death, immortal bird. No hungry generations tread thee down. The voice I hear this passing night was heard in ancient days, for example, and clown perhaps the self-same song, the all sad heart of Ruth when in tears away the alive corn. In dealing with pain and suffering, Keats uses the beauty of the birds, long to inhabit another land, not of reality but of imagination. This is metaphorically implied through charmed magic casements, opening on the foam, of perilous seas, in fairy lands forlorn. This represents the essence of escaping the dealings of pain and suffering, as it was being a gateway of inspiration to escape his world to one that is not of reality. To describe reality, he uses descriptive language to show us in the weariness, fret, fever, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, where what to think is to be full of sorrow. This is a TV journal of violence. Television violence is what the TV relies on. It definitely reflects things not acceptable to society. This then portrays society as violent, corrupt and ruthless, as said in the television violence report. The research done proves that the television increases aggression in children, leads to an acceptance of violence as a way of life, changes the nature of social structure. The television violence report states, and also hidden messages reported, that children accept TV as reality, not capable of imagining that characters can be acting. To me, I find this very disturbing, as this can be continued and nothing is done about it. I believe that television is modeling violent behavior. This is also in the report, which proves my statement. TV starts at a young age and children intend to watch supposedly harmless cartoons such as Bugs Bunny and Tom Jerry. But these so-called harmless cartoons have such weapons as cannons, swords, machine guns, bombs and revolvers in them, and influence the children to think shooting and blowing people up is hilarious, when it is most definitely not. These programs then influence children, particularly makes them to play with bombs and cap guns, because most characters using them implement these are male. Television is something that you can sit down, relax and watch anything you choose on. It is said a child's understanding of the world, its wildlife and its many peoples can also be enhanced by documentary films. This is stated in the television hidden messages report. But in the USA, in an upsurge of accidents, some fatal and crippling news for life was the day after Evel Knievel's bike jumping show, as written in the television violence report. The television hidden message report also states, television is a teaching tool and children are imitators. This is clearly proven by the statement above. The results of research from Tyndall, Reid and Goodwin show that over 105,000 of Sydney's school-age population watch more than 1 hour a day of violent films. The children who have been watching the cartoons with machine guns, bombs and cannons take the next step into TV violence by watching such movies as Terminator, Jaws, The Mummy, Eraser, etc., which show very explicit scenes, and these films have very dramatic parts in them, including realistic killed bodies, shooting scenes and bombing. It is stated that in television hidden messages report that in the violent movies it points out that real life problems are solved by violence. You can discuss with them. Your children are the non-violent solutions to the storyline. There is also another example of how TV violence, including verbally abusing people, can be thought to be acceptable because of television. An example of this is South Park, which uses coarse language and makes swear words look acceptable to the younger generation, which it definitely is not. And when the children grow into adults and have literally soaked up violence, they become immune to it. And it is no different on them, and they have hardly any feelings, and eventually they themselves think they can do these things and get away with them. Just like on the TV, when they definitely cannot. For instance, they might have learned how to do crazy stunts with their cars from movies, with car chases in them, and in turn do hold-ups, robberies, because of what they saw on TV shows. This proves that I believe that much of teenage violence has been influenced by TV, and then in turn must be stopped. I know that without these bad influencing programs, many of the school shootings and bombings would not have happened. But don't get me wrong, the television is not all that bad. It states in the TV Hidden Messages report that global children's networks may not be too far away. Could be a good thing if all cultures were equally represented, if children grew up together in television global village, as perhaps they will be less likely to wage war on each other later on. It also states that good news about your children's television viewing habits is that children from preschool age can be taught by parents to become selective and critical viewers. I now believe that I have summed up that the best solution is for parents to keep a watchful eye over their children watching habits. But I would urge the TV companies to make all violent films to be late at night so as to make it easier for parents to keep an eye on what their children watch. Gladiator, Maximus the Spaniard. The constant theme of virtue within the film Gladiator, starring Russell Crowe as Maximus, goes along the timeless principle of showing a hero as they develop in character throughout the plot. There are three main senses of the film that epitomize the struggle of good above bad, and sometimes bad above evil, in the ultimate quest of a divine cause that is seen as greater than good. In this film case, the dream that was Rome, i.e. the senatorial democratic republic, against the autocracy imposed by order of Caesar, non-elected. The first chosen scene occurs before the death of Marcus Aurelius, with the emphasis on film technique to create a somber interpersonal setting through dark lighting and sound, suggesting the subjects are in a world of their own, cut off from the outside, which is in utter silence. This sets the scene for the private one-on-one discussion so crucial in revealing the virtuous character of the general who is the main hero of the film. The General Maximus reveals his convictions and faith for the empire he is fighting for, through the use of tone revealing a sense of idealism and belief, which is an aspect of the virtuous. He states, I will not believe my men fought and died for nothing. I have seen many other barbarian nations, they are dark and dangerous. Rome is the light of this desperate world. The Emperor appeals to our hero by politely but persuasively rebutting, but you do not know what has become of Rome. It has been crippled by corruption. I am a dying man, Maximus. How will I be remembered, as a philosopher, warrior, tyrant, or an emperor who gave back Rome her true self? The emperor then asked Maximus to do one more deed before returning to his home and family, which is most close to his heart and spirit. A long shot shows the obedient Maximus rise to ask Caesar what he wills him to do. A close-up of Caesar shows the calculated but relaxed response of the emperor, stating, "I will empower you for one task alone, and that is to restore power back to the people of Rome and end the crippling corruption that has engulfed it. Do you accept this great honor that I have bestowed upon you?" After a short silence, Maximus replies as if almost troubled, "With all my heart. No, gently." A series of close-up, going from the emperor to Maximus, show the intensity of this moment, by which the emperor warmly replies, "Maximus, that is why it must be you," while a close-up shot shows the emperor zooming, peering into his eyes. The scene amplifies the heroic qualities of Maximus as he is able to shun the power of this almighty position, as his heart is set on humbler things closer to his soul's fulfillment, which may be called the view of what it must be important to a pure heart. His virtuous character, however, is not seen by a fact he puts the love of his family above the potential power, fame, or glory of this earth found in the position being offered, but by his strength to stay true to his duty for greater good, even though this will encompass much self-sacrifice, even pain from the prolonged separation from what he holds to most dear, his family. This may be seen as a typical characteristic of the virtuous, placing family or friends above all else, i.e. priceless treasures, yet sacrificing his own enjoyment as well as fulfillment for the greater good or cause. The next scene takes place when the general was sold into slavery and then made a gladiator. This setting begins as our hero with fellow gladiators makes his way along the dark corridors of the Colosseum, while clanging metal and a man barking orders of gladiatorial conduct creates a scene of an almost fearful yet jubilant intensity. A close-up shot shows Maximus calm and composed among the others. Then as the gladiators enter the arena, a panning shot circles the gladiators with spectators in the background. Sense of awe sweeps over the men as the bright sunlight lifts the spirit of the scene. Then the gates open, unleashing a spectacle of gliding charioteers. Maximus calmly states with authority, "Anyone here been in the army?" After a few positive replies, he states, "You can help me," demanding, but with a quicker pace, "We're going to get a better chance of survival if we work together. You understand?" "Yes," is the reply he gets from willing followers. Then with a persuasive tone of confidence, he finally advises, as if ordering, "If we stay together, we survive." The scene begins by portraying a burst of anarchy and confusion, as the noisy charioteers, cheering crowd and sound of metal blows creates and engulfs disorder among the gladiators. The much-needed leadership comes from none other than the General Maximus, shouting hoarse orders to create unity among the desperate gladiators. Come together, stay calm, and take over. Show us his will to help lead the group to victory. Maximus then reveals his ability as a tactician on the edge as he panics while quickly commanding, "Lock your shields, stay as one." Then orders them to hold twice, then as one, hold on. He then gives a final long drawn out command, hold, as if getting ready for something. He quickly shouts, "Diverge," at the top of his lungs, just as a charioteer strikes, making it tumble out of control. There is a silence of shock followed by an uproar among the crowd. One of the gladiators break ranks to disable one of the fallen charioteers who started. Rise as a threat. Out of nowhere, he is struck by an arrow in the leg and is made ineffective. Then, just as a charioteer heads straight towards Maximus, runs and jumps to his aid just in time, pushing him out of the way from a speeding chariot. The scene portrays Maximus as a leader of men in the most dire of circumstances. His ability comes from a sense of solidarity for the well-being of the group and takes the responsibility out of the task or sense of virtue and duty. His real heroic qualities are shown, however, not by his ability to lead, but by the selfless action of saving a fellow gladiator from certain death, even when it meant putting his own well-being and safety at great peril, and even risk of a quick death. The last scene chosen is the prelude and fight along with the aftermath of the twisted emperor, fighting Maximus the virtuous hero. The scene begins with an overshot view of Maximus chained in a cell below the Colosseum. Anyone can be heard the chanting crowd repeating our hero's name repetitively in anticipation. Then the emperor appears and challenges Maximus, the general that become a slave, the slave that become a gladiator, the gladiator who defied an emperor. The lighting is dark, as if to stress the power of darkness controls the moment, and he sets the scene for when the emperor embraces Maximus as a brother before stabbing him in the back. The fight scene takes place with a close-up shot of Maximus bending down and empowering his hands with sand. He then picks up his sword and the emperor and gladiator rage in a battle. The emperor is disabled when he loses his sword. Frantically he orders Quintus to give him another one, but he refuses. Maximus is dressed in dark armor while the emperor wears bright white, almost to stress the deception of subconsciously portraying a hero as villain and not that what the emperor be an irony. The devious emperor pulls out a knife and tries to kill Maximus, who ends up killing the emperor by his own weapon. When the emperor falls, silence engulfs the Colosseum, a silence of almost disbelief, fear and wonder. Maximus seems to be between his life and hereafter, as he envisions a door almost like a dream. He opens it and he walks into his home. He then hears Maximus, Maximus, and is brought back to reality. Quintus, free my men, Senator. Gracious is to be reinstated. There was a dream that was Rome. It shall be realized. These are the wishes of Marcus Aurelius. The empress runs to him and he says, Lucius is safe, and forced to join his family. She says, go to them. Then you're home. The last scene is both tragic and jubilant, as it signifies both the end of the hero's journey and the completion of his mission. The mere fact that he did not succumb to the pain of the injury and kept going till he had disabled the emperor without killing him showed he had a great inner strength to keep iron determination in face of peril or ongoing. The virtue of this heroic character can be seen by his sense of duty being so strong that he came back from the afterlife to complete his promise, keeping to his duty and word to re-establish the dream that was Rome. Advertising. The first advertisement, the Shaolin Kung Fu Monks, has a very effective picture which stands out and influences you to have a closer look. Its headline's a motive. It is to entice you to get excited and read with amazement. The writing also uses quite a bit of hyperbole. I would imagine that the writer has accomplished his goal, which is to evoke attention his or her audience. The second advert does not have any graphics but does very well done tactics, which entices you, italics, to have a look at the advertisement. It consists of some persuading words, such as unbeatable value for money, and save in large print, which draws attention. This advert has achieved holiday seekers to be influenced by the phrases used in it. The car alarm advertisement consists of some very important, if not all, needed elements of a good advert. It has well done graphic design and a cobra definitely draws attention, and the italics consist of enticing language such as lowest prices ever, prices slashed. The advert also consists of very alarming price reduction, which is very much emphasized. The next advertisement uses photography, suggesting that the event is aimed at the young audience. This type of advert is generally a good idea as it entices parents to bring their children on the weekend as if they don't want to. And if they don't want to, their children usually persuade them to go in any case. Media stands out quite a bit, but phrases used really sound enticing as it is a very expensive family pass. This advertisement is advertising a car and uses a metaphor in front, which is joy flights now available, which suggests this car is a very fast, smooth, and has a very relaxing cruise of speed. It also consists of a photograph which has an imagery of that of an aircraft carrier and an aircraft pilot standing next to the advertised order. The advertisement number 6 has a large bold front which says the following: "Got to live Formula One," which entices you to think this is not an event to be missed by anyone. The graphics, which consist of photographs relating to the topic, because of their relation to car racing, gives it an imagery of one of excitement and liveliness which persuades you to want to be part of it.